Since we cater to beginners and we love teaching them how to put the instrument together so that when they leave here they have a good command of the instrument and they also are not afraid of it. Very often a young beginner will leave the store wondering, what the heck do I do with this? And they hardly can wait until they get into class to do the instrument. So instead of doing that, we spend at least a half an hour with each student showing them the basic setup in the case and then how to care for the instrument. With a clarinet, the LeBlanc vitoes are all having marking on each section, and on each section they line it up in the case so that your vitoes all are matched up. We start with a bed for each part, and that bed has actually formations so that he or she has no problem putting that back into the case the proper way. Stand, which is a carry-all stand, and it can be taken to school. It actually cuts down on the repair cost for a parent, because putting laying an instrument across a chair very often ends up being sat on or fallen to the floor. So this goes inside the bell like that, and it's put into the case and carried with the child. So we'll take that out and show you these. These are inexpensive and they've saved the parents quite a bit of money. So we just click it into place and start by building the clarinet with the bell. The corks on the clarinets, when you first buy a new clarinet or rent a new clarinet, these corks can actually be very high on the instrument itself. So we at Allegro Music sand the corks down so that it's easy for the child to put together. Often you will not have that happen, and the child will have difficulty putting the pieces together and bend keys in the process. We show them how to put cork grease on this so that it's very slick, and when it's slick it's easy to put together. So I will take some cork grease. You can buy these in a tube like so, and now once the corks are sanded down, you put a little bit of cork grease on there. This can be done at night before the child goes to school, because often there's just not enough time for the child to do this, and it does create a big problem when he's trying to put it together and can't squeeze it together properly. When you do that, you just work it into the cork, because the corks can get very dry in the climate that we have here in Southern California. So once that joint is greased, we show you how to hold it. In the left hand, you bring the fingers, it sits in the palm of the hand, and you bring the fingers around to elevate this bridge key. The bridge key actually can run into the other joint and bend the keys unless there's enough cork grease on there and the bridge key is raised. So you see, if I raise that bridge key, it clears the lower joint nicely. Now if I press the lower joint, you can see that bridge key raising and lowering, which is why it's very critical for that to be in alignment or adjustment. On the LeBlanc, there's the vitoes, there's a little mechanism here, a little peg that allows that joint to be placed properly, and the child can just wiggle that off. So he holds the bridge key down, wiggles it on, and wiggles it off. There's no need for this clarinet to be turned all the way like that. If you have the cork grease on it, it can be wiggled on and off nicely. And a child can do that if the corks are taken down properly. All right, so we'll put a little bit more cork grease on the bottom joint, and I'll show you how that bottom joint goes into the bell with the cork grease on it. Makes it nice and slippery, and you hold that instrument like that and just wiggle that bell on. It can be held here as well on the lower joint because the child has more strength if he holds it closer to the joint and twisted. Then we'll line up the V-toes because this is the front of the instrument. Put it on the stand so that it's held properly while you prepare the barrel and the mouthpiece. Again, we take the corks down so that the mouthpiece can go on easily, and we recommend that you put the cork grease on there, work it in. Now when they're new, they're a little bit stiff. So once you have that piece together, I will show you how to put the reed on the instrument, but just for our purpose now, I'll show you that once you get the mouthpiece and the barrel together, it can be positioned nicely on the instrument, like so. Now we try to keep all the V-toes to the front, so that mouthpiece goes to the back, the V-toe goes to the front, and the reed is always on the back of the instrument. Just to show you that reed lines up with the octave key and with the thumb rest. And the reed is in the back of the instrument, keys are in the front of the instrument, and the V-toes are all lined up. Getting the child used to having the V-toes line up keeps his memory toward how to put it also in the case. So we try to coordinate those two movements for the child. Okay, so this is your mouthpiece, and there's quite a bit to know about the mouthpiece, beginning with the fact that your clarinet will not play unless it has this little piece of reed material on it. It's the part that vibrates when you blow air through it causes the sound to move through your instrument. This is called a ligature, and the ligature holds that little piece of wood right on your mouthpiece. So your ligature is also an A shape. It's got a small opening and a larger opening, and if you can notice, your mouthpiece is smaller at the top, larger at the bottom. Your reed is also very thin at the top and larger at the bottom. So everything is designed in an A. When you begin with the reed, taking a new reed or even a used reed that has been dried, you have to moisten that reed by placing it on your tongue. Now, a lot of kids object to that, and they buy little liquids called bubble gum or bubblegum flavor, and they put that in there on their reed so that it doesn't taste funny. But basically, a reed player will always get accustomed to the taste of a reed. So it's placed on the center of the tongue and moistened with the saliva, like that. Once it's wet, it will vibrate. You take the mouthpiece in your left hand, you place the reed on the mouthpiece so that the thin part of the reed goes toward the tip of the mouthpiece, and there should be no black line showing on that mouthpiece. When you get that reed positioned correctly, you take your ligature and you come up through the center so that you don't gouge the reed. Any splits or cuts in the reed will cause the reed to squeak or cause the instrument to squeak. After you get that ligature on, you can reposition the reed like that. Always keep holding it with your thumb. Turn the tightening part, tighten the screw, both top and bottom. You can use greater pressure on the bottom of the reed, on the bottom of the ligature, and a lesser pressure here so that the reed has plenty of room to vibrate. When you're not using the reed or using the mouthpiece, you can put the cap on. It will keep it nice and moist. But when you're finished with your music performance, You remove the cap, remove the reed, and place it into the plastic container so that it dries properly. If your reed becomes dark or looks black, then you need to discard the reed as it will have mildew on it. So there are a couple important maintenance items that a parent should buy for the child. And one is the mouthpiece brush. When you remove the reed, you'll notice that after it's swabbed, it can develop some residue from the sugars and starches in the saliva. And especially if a child has had a cold or flu or something, you want to soak the mouthpiece in antibacterial soap and water at your kitchen sink for about 3 minutes. Take the brush and brush it through and clean out the debris, and then rinse it really well and dry it with a paper towel. Also, we recommend that you use a teeth saver, what they call a teeth saver, that usually when a child is beginning music, their teeth are very tight against the end of the mouthpiece, and these little teeth savers are rubberized so they can be placed on the tip of the mouthpiece, and it will protect your child's teeth as well as the mouthpiece. So another option for cleaning the mouthpiece that helps to sterilize it, this Sтерisol is a liquid that you can buy. It's not too expensive and it lasts a very long time, and it can be used in place of the antibacterial soap water. You actually would rinse the mouthpiece, use the brush, rinse it in water, use the brush, get out the debris, and then spray it with the Sтерisol. You do have to leave the Sтерisol on the equipment for at least 1 minute, and it will kill the germs. Now, after a clarinet performer is finished with the music, his instrument has a lot of moisture in it, and it's essential to protect the pads by getting all the moisture out of the instrument. And we find, especially for beginners, that these clarinet swabs that are silk are the most valuable because they don't get caught inside the clarinet as often as a felt or a linen cloth. And the nice thing about it is if a child actually can do it easily and quickly, they will do it. If they find it difficult to use, which linen very often is very difficult to use for them, they won't do it. So it's essential to do it, and the way we start is take the clarinet apart, or at least take the reed off. This is the way I show a student how to do this, is to just take the reed off and put it in the little plastic container, and then start with the swab because it will clean the mouthpiece as well as the entire instrument. And you put that down through the mouthpiece. The metal piece comes out the bottom like so, and then the child can just draw that right through the instrument like so, and it absorbs, the silk absorbs the moisture very quickly. If they want to do it separately, they can take it apart and do each piece. However, most kids in a hurry would rather do it in one piece. And like I said, it dries the mouthpiece, it dries the barrel, and then they can take their finger with the extra piece at the bottom and dry off the ledges. If you notice, there's a ledge in each piece that holds the other piece together, and that does accumulate moisture so that the silk can be used just to twist and turn. Edge there. Just wipe it, the excess moisture. take it apart and put it in the case. The silk is in a square, is in a triangle, and it's easily washed, so that at your kitchen sink you can put that into some antibacterial soap water and do it maybe once every 2 weeks so that it doesn't accumulate the starch and sugar from the saliva, and it also will take away any virus or bacteria that's accumulated from colds or flus. Rinse it really well, and it dries very quickly. When they go to put it away, rather than rolling it up, which some children do, we teach them not to do that because it locks the moisture in. Rather to lay it on top of the instrument like so, take the little metal piece and put it into the case, and usually it's dry by the time they get home. When we talk to a parent about buying reeds for clarinet or any other reed instrument, we talk about some different brands that a beginner can start with. The Rico Royal is a little bit higher graded reed material than the Ricos. However, some directors, band directors, believe that the Ricos for a beginner are just as good. Some school districts will require one or the other, but we find that the Ricos are just fine until a student learns, and then he can advance. As he advances musically, he can advance to a higher graded reed material. These are basically the beginner's reed materials. This reed box of reeds, usually a child starts after they become very skilled musically. These reeds are a lot tighter in the weaving of the reed, and actually are harder, so that the resistance is greater, and you actually come down a half size when you get to that point. So if you were advanced to a size 3 on one of these reeds, you actually would come down to a 2.5 when you start using Van Doren reeds. We start our beginners with either a blue box or an orange box, and they come in a plastic container, and that plastic container has holes in it which protect the reed from moisture. The air circulates and dries the reed, and on the back of the reed there is a strength written. So it gives you the name of the manufacturer and the strength of the reed. We start beginners with either a 1.5 or a size 2. When they remove it from the mouthpiece, they actually can very carefully put it back into the reed box, and slide it in there, and that air will circulate to dry that reed. It's important to dry the reed after use, not during class, because it needs to be still damp in order for the reed to vibrate. But when they're finished playing, they need to take that reed and remove it from the mouthpiece.